Laurent Gbagbo 2010 presidential election and succession crisis. In 2010, Côte d'Ivoire had a presidential election that saw Gbagbo face off with Alassane Ouattara. Gbagbo, whose mandate had expired in 2005, had delayed the election several times. On November 28, 2010, the second round of the presidential election was held. 4 days later, the Independent Election Commission, CEI, declared Alassane Ouattara the winner with 54.1% of the vote. Gbagbo's party complained of fraud and ordered that votes from 9 regions occupied by the ex-rebels became FN after the Ouagadougou Agreement be annulled, but the claims were disputed by the Ivorian Electoral Commission and international election observers. The Constitutional Council, in accordance with its legal powers in Article 94 of the Ivorian Constitution, nullified the CEI's declaration based on alleged voting fraud, and excluded votes from 9 northern areas. The Constitutional Council concluded that without these votes Gbagbo won with 51% of the remaining vote. The constitutional restriction on presidents serving more than 10 years was not addressed. With a significant portion of the country's vote nullified, especially in areas where Ouattara polled well, tensions mounted in the country. Gbagbo ordered the army to close the borders and foreign news organizations were banned from broadcasting from within the country. United States Secretary of State Hillary Clinton urged the government to act responsibly and peacefully. Gbagbo declared that I will continue to work with all the countries of the world, but I will never give up our sovereignty. Gbagbo is accused of committing many atrocities against regime opponents. Ouattara's forces have also been accused of mass killings. Sporadic violence and gunfire were reported in various parts of the country, including Abidjan. Gbagbo is mainly supported by the largely Christian South. His opponents are mostly concentrated in the Muslim North. Ouattara also took a parallel oath of office, based on an earlier pronouncement by the CEI that he won the election. The international community, including the African Union, recognized Ouattara as the duly elected president and called for Gbagbo to respect the will of the people. ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, also recognized Ouattara and demanded Gbagbo cede power. Gbagbo responded by launching ethnic attacks on northerners living in Abidjan with his army made up partly of Liberian mercenaries, and rumors, unconfirmed because of restrictions on the movement of peacekeeping forces, of pro-Gbagbo death squads and mass graves have been reported to representatives of the UN. When Nigeria demanded Gbagbo step down and the EU began imposing sanctions and freezing assets, Gbagbo demanded foreign troops, by which he meant UN and French troops, leave the country. Leaders of the Forces Nouvelles, former rebels, asserted that Gbagbo was not the head of state and could not make such a request, and also asserted that the demand was a part of a plan to commit genocide on ethnicities from the north of the country, as stated by Gbagbo's Minister of Youth and Employment. On April 11, 2011, forces loyal to Ouattara supported by the French and UN army moved to seize Gbagbo at his residence in Abidjan after failed negotiations to end the presidential succession crisis. According to Ouattara, his forces established a security perimeter at the residence, where Gbagbo had sought refuge in a subterranean level, and were waiting for him to run out of food and water. The UN had insisted that he be arrested, judged and tried for crimes against humanity during his term and since the election of Ouattara. On April 10, 2011, UN and French helicopters fired on heavy weapons located in Gbagbo's residency in order to prevent attacks on civilians or UN personnel. Some claim this excuse was false because a coup d'état was taking place. Arrest and transfer to the International Criminal Court. It was reported that Gbagbo was arrested on the afternoon of April 11, 2011. Gbagbo was held in the Gulf Hotel by Ouattara's forces, but the UN police had accepted his request for their protection. Initial reports indicated that French special forces had made the arrest, based on declarations by a Gbagbo aide, but it was denied by the French ambassador in Côte d'Ivoire. A French military spokesman later asserted that French forces did not enter Gbagbo's residence, albeit they did enter. After briefing the United Nations Security Council on the situation, Alain Leroy, UN Under-Secretary-General for Peacekeeping Operations, confirmed to reporters that Ouattara forces made the arrest. But there have been persistent reports from Alain Toussaint, Gbagbo's special advisor in France, that French forces did indeed make the arrest possible, namely by blasting open the corridor that linked the presidential residence to the French embassy in Abidjan, enabling pro-Ouattara forces to move in quickly to seize Gbagbo. Gbagbo had the tunnel blocked with concrete as soon as he came to power in 2000, marking his political independence to France, the former colonial master. Later, speaking from inside the Gulf Hotel in Abidjan, Gbagbo told the regular armies to stop fighting. U.S. President Barack Obama cheered news of the latest developments in Côte d'Ivoire, and CNN quoted U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton as saying Gbagbo's capture sends a strong signal to dictators and tyrants: they may not disregard the voice of their own people.